Welcome to Tell the Damn Story, the show that explores the many ways to navigate the successes and failures that aspiring and struggling writers face to make your journey that much easier.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another episode of Tell the Damn Story.
Yeah. I'm sorry.
In a universe.
In a galaxy far away. Good evening, afternoon, morning, wherever it is, whatever you're doing. Hi.
Yeah, we're glad to be here, and we're much more happy that you are here. We're gonna try and give you some information.
Yep.
That
Sure.
will be helpful to you.
Now, this is something this is something that Chris and I have talked about of different ways and different times before, but they always come back because, again, it's one of those things that most writers deal with at some point in space and time. So it's always good to reiterate and sometimes even show a different view of the same thing. So this is, Chris, what would you call this?
Well, today we're going to advise you to not self-reject. Don't self-reject. Actually, that's a quote from friend of the show, Carol Geisander, who I heard say that. I'm not sure whether it was a Galactic Terrace or at an HWA meeting. Carol is a gifted horror writer. And there was really great advice. As a matter of fact, I wrote it down on one of my ever-present index cards. And again, I have that also somewhere where I see it while I'm writing. And we're going to talk about all the different ways that those three words, well, really two words, the other one's hyphenated, apply. In this case, to writing, but those of you who are dancers or graphic artists or whatever, singers, you can, if Bono's out there, he can use this.
I'm starting to hear the Irish in there.
I don't know why that happened.
They don't call him Ryan for nothing.
There you go. Let's talk about just the phrase, right? Don't self-reject. It suggests, of course, that there is that tendency. And with creatives, there always is that part of the creative cycle where we say, you get an idea and then you jump in maybe and explore it, get lost in the idea, and then the story is finished. And for some reason, shortly after that, the editor starts kicking in, and not our self-editor is not always reliable or nice person.
Yeah, non-biased.
You suck. You should burn that. You should go hide under a rock.
You should beat yourself with the rock, then hide under it.
Yeah. None of that is ever helpful. And the best way to defeat that editor is say, why? What's wrong with it? Tell me exactly what you would suggest, where your problem is. And usually the editors go, I'm just getting some coffee. I'll be right. But we can do it to ourselves because we allow ourselves to be conditioned that way. And it might be, Alex was in the pre-game show here. Alex had mentioned, well, sometimes it's even with the idea, right? Before we even write a word. Oh, that idea sucks. Alex, why don't you talk about that a little bit?
Well, why don't I talk about that? I can tell you why I won't talk about in talking about well, again,
tell me what I'm going to talk about.
there's two camps that we're talking about here, two camps that this applies to. There's the camp of people who have been writing for a while, whether it's a year, 10 years, 20 years, and them having an idea and beating the idea to death before it's had a chance to take its first breath. And then there's the camp of people who are just starting out. And if we talk about the people just starting out first, well, okay, so you don't have a lot of experience writing something that you successfully complete that is shared with others and you get feedback or you get accolades or whatever. You don't have a lot of that experience. You haven't gone through it a lot. So you can be legitimately nervous, unsure, whatever. And so you have an idea and you think, oh, how about if I did so? Oh, that's stupid. Or maybe I could do such a, no one would ever want to read that or buy that or whatever. So my attitude about that for you people who are new to the game is it does not serve you to shoot the idea the moment it pops up, because ideas have done their job the moment you have them. The job of an idea is to be an idea, to be the seed or the kernel, the nucleus of a possibility. That's its job. What you do with the idea, how you nurture it, where you go with it, that's the next stage of the process. So for me, and for those, I speak for Chris for a moment here, but for many people that I respect, you have an idea, you jot it down. That's it. You jot it down, whether it's appealing to you 30 seconds later or not. You've recorded it, it's there. You can go back and look at it later. Maybe it'll be a week before you want to use it. Maybe it's a year before suddenly you go, ooh, that would great, but you have it. So just have the idea, jot it down, don't judge it, don't reject it, don't shoot it in the back of the head. And for those of you who have been in the business for a long period of time, you know this. You know what this feels like. You reject an idea the moment you had it. Why? Maybe that's insecurity. Maybe it's something to do with how the day's been going, blah, 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 blah. That's a different set of exercises to deal with that. But definitely for those of you who are starting out, ideas are just ideas. Collect them, save them, review them later, and see what you can use.
Yes, I like the Stephen King suggestion about ideas. Let them fight it out in your brain, right in the back of your head, and then the one that keeps bothering you, keeps tapping you on the shoulder, thinking on you. That's the one that really insists on attention. That's probably the idea that's going to be most bear most fruit. But if you reject it out of hand before you even give it a chance to annoy the crap out of you, you don't get to play there. A lot of the stuff that has wound up being written and published for me is stuff that obsessed me and haunted me. It's really rare where I say, I'm gonna write an idea. I'm gonna write a story about a jar of jelly that mutates. And then go ahead and do it. It doesn't work that way. It's like, oh, it's jelly. Ah! There you go. Let's talk about more micro. That was kind of a macro, right? Let's go micro. I've said it before and I'll say it again. You got to let it suck when you're writing. You got to let it suck. If we self-reject, we could self-reject every page, every paragraph, every sentence, every word. If we allow ourselves, well, that's so true. If it's part of a process, like, oh, no. A lay or a lie, that's just part of the process of writing, right? Or Alex, oh no, you're taking too much time, Chris. Alex chortled, right? Alex chortled. You might say chortled. Is that really the best word? That's not so much self-rejecting. If you just say, oh, that sucks, I gotta and just erase it, that's self-rejecting. But you might say, and this is the key, if you find yourself self-rejecting in the middle of a sentence, the middle of a paragraph, say, okay, well, what options do I have? How can I say that better? And then it's no longer self-rejected. Now it's process, right? You always want to substitute process for self-rejection, right? If you say, this story sucks, and then do well, why? What sucks about it? And you can give yourself 20 minutes of reasons why it sucks, then maybe you're on to something, right? And that's not self-rejection, that's thinking it through. But if you say, oh, that sucks, and you don't have any reason to back it up, that's your editor just breaking your horns, right? That's that little evil bastard. So work through it, and then rewrite as your friend, right? We suggest often on Tell a Damn Story, go to Facebook open calls or other open calls for submissions, right? And this is another area where self-rejection can kill you. Such and such press wants werewolf stories. We want a werewolf story that's set in modern times and is a fresh take on the werewolf trope. Please don't have your werewolf eating babies or being a racist or whatever the usual limitations are, right? And if you look at that and say, oh, I have this great werewolf, no, I can't. They don't want my story. They're probably full already. That's, they're only looking for established. Listen, if you can find it, then you can submit to it. And let's talk about that. Ask yourself the question, what is the worst thing that happens if you submit this story? If they don't like the story, do they send hitmen to your house or hit women? Is that what? Hey, you, did you write that story? Give me your kneecap. No, that doesn't happen. You usually get a form letter. Hey, that was wonderful, but it's not for us at this time. Please, I submit it elsewhere, and I hope it finds a home. Best to you. And no signature, no personality, but that's just the way it is, right?
Form letter. Yeah.
It's just, but everybody gets that. So if that's the worst, then who cares? Go ahead, try it. And if 2 or 3 people reject your story, that again is not like, see, I told you. It's again an opportunity. Okay, let's go over this story and see what works about it. And read it out loud to yourself as if you were getting paid substantial amount of money. I usually like to say $10,000. And this came from my high school days because I would tell the kids to proofread their stuff, especially their college entrance essays, and they wouldn't do it. And then I would read it out loud, on a one-on-one to them, and they would be like, "Oh my God, oh." Yeah, read it out loud to yourself. But read it out loud to yourself like you're getting paid 10,000, so that you're not going, that's not reading out loud. Read it as if it's performance level, and you will hear what's working and what's not working. That's not at the time when you say, see, it does suck. That's when you ask questions again. Okay, that doesn't sound like it's working. Why isn't it working? What is it right for the character? What should be happening? What could be happening? What would be better? That's now you're back to process, and process is your friend, ladies and gentlemen. Speaking of friends, here's Alex Simmons.
You covered so much material there. I would say that
Like a comfy blanket.
just to sort of narrow things, or actually no, itemize. So we talked about, again, ideas. We talk about plots. We can talk about scripts, right? You can talk about rewrites. Self-rejecting, in effect, means you tend to doubt you without thinking about why you doubt you, why you doubt the work. And Chris is saying here, and has said, when you have that feeling, ask yourself, why am I having that feeling? Why do I think that at that moment? It is not so much so that you can then go into extreme analysis, but what you're actually asking is, okay, if the plot doesn't seem to be engaging, why is it not engaging? What element seems to be missing, or what seems to be confusing, or what seems to be not as exciting as it should be? And that causes you to analyze your material in a much more constructive manner. The broad brush of self-rejection is, oh, well, it just doesn't work. Well, what do you do with that? You can't do anything with that. That's your running out the back door. That's literally what that is. That gives you an excuse not to do anything else because it just doesn't work. No, it doesn't just not work. If it's not working, there is a reason. Identifying the reason gives you the ability to work on that reason, to correct it in some fashion. I would give you a quick example, and it's funny because I still to this day don't know why it didn't work. But I got an assignment just during COVID, as a matter of fact. I got this assignment, a marvelous assignment, to work on a project that I'm a natural for. I'd written comics and graphic novels before for several years. The project was something I was interested in. The subject matter was something I was interested in and had some expertise in. There was no reason in the world why it should have been painstakingly difficult for me to write it, but it was. And every single time I went to try and write it, I ran into this metaphysical wall where it was like literally trying to dig my way out of a coal mine with a nail file. And I could not figure out why. So the only thing I could give myself was, okay, A, I have the problem. There's a problem with writing the scene. I don't know why it's so difficult for me to do it. I have the information that I need. I know something about the characters. Why am I not able to write this? I couldn't figure it out. So I went on automatic. Automatic says, write the scene.
Yeah.
Move the characters through the paces that they need to go from the beginning to the end of the scene. Let them say the things they need to say to move the dialogue forward, following the plot. Now, this may sound like it has no soul. You're right. I am not focusing on making sure the character is speaking exactly how she or they would, blah, blah, blah. Because for some reason, I'm resisting writing this. So I let myself put the pieces in a row. And that is moving me forward. And quite often, what happened when I would write the thing that way, the pressure to get it done was over.
Right.
It was there now.
Right.
I could now go back and look at it and go, oh, well, actually, he would say this instead of that. This would move quicker if this wasn't. I could make adjustments. They were sometimes micro adjustments because
Yeah.
I was still struggling with whatever it was holding me up back, or hanging me up. But at least I was able to now look at what wasn't quite right and make adjustments. So sometimes that's what you need to do. You need to get out of your own way
Right.
and ask, okay, what is not working? And if you cannot come up with an answer, then do the pacing, do the layout, do the work, drop in those words so that maybe that will then give you an opportunity to go back and look and go, okay, now I'm 10 feet up. I can look at the bigger picture. Now I can see what's not working and I can move forward. There's always an answer.
Yeah.
Or at least a way to deal with finding the answer.
Yeah. Well, and again, that's why I say let it suck. And the reason, and this I told students for 30 years, it is so much easier to edit a crappy page or couple of pages of writing, a couple of screens of writing if you're doing it on your laptop or whatever, than it is to edit a blank page or a blank screen. So let it suck and then go back and make it suck less, just a little bit. And then you'll start getting past that block and then get it to, you slowly get it to where it needs to go. Now, I'll give you a quick one on what happens if you do let that block win. So in the 90s or maybe they're, yeah, around the 90s, early 90s, maybe late 80s. I was a reporter in the Bronx Press Review, and I had an interview with Chaz Palminteri, who had just sold, he had just sold The Bronx Tale to Robert De Niro for $1 million, and they were going to make the film, and he was going to be in the film. And he agreed to the interview on Arthur Avenue, where the story happened to him and where he wrote it. It was a great interview. We had the details don't matter. It was fantastic. It was going to be a great story, and I wanted it to be perfect. So I put it off until I could have time to make it perfect. And that's almost 40 years ago. And I've never wrote it. And I've always regretted. So that's what you can guarantee yourself if you let the block, the self-rejection, win, that you will regret it. And that's it. You don't get published that way. You don't get the attaboy from Chaz Palminteri, or you don't get the accolades of, hey, someone read that story and they liked it, or that you see it on the printed page, because you don't. So screw that. Don't self-reject. Jump in, let it suck, go to your best friend, which is rewrite, make it better, and one day you too could be Alex the Legend Simmons. There you go. Because you've got those pearls of wisdom from us today, the least you can do for Alex is hit the like and the subscribe, and maybe in the comments, just hearts. Hey, Alex, and then maybe 40 or 50 hearts. That's what Alex lives for. So there you go, ladies and gentlemen. Don't self-reject. Be kind to yourself. Be kind. Rewind. Wait a minute. That's a whole different era.
Yeah, right.
There you go.
Yes. Thank you, Chris, for that wonderful closing remark. Yeah, folks, you've been enjoying Summer Shorts with Chris and Alex, right? We were on the beach before. Now we're back in the real world.
Still wearing shorts, though.
Yeah, still wearing shorts, right? And looking damn good in it, too.
Damn it. My leg's healing. For those long-term watchers.
Yeah, by the way, for those of you who saw the episode 2 episodes ago, his ankle is much better now. But for those of you who are going to stay with us throughout the summer, there'll be not only another couple of shorts, but there'll also be at least one interview that we're trying to lock down. Right now, this is the month of July. It's the end of July, and there's a lot happening in San Diego. And two of our favorite folk from who have been on the show before are in San Diego receiving accolades and responses to the work they're doing. So we're going to try and get them on the show before the summer's out to get them to talk about their time in San Diego, the work they've been doing, what's coming in the fall, all that good stuff. So stay with us. Be with us next week for those thrilling episodes. Right.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, it's your turn now. Don't self-reject. Go tell your damn story.
Take care, everybody.
Live long and prosper.
Yes, Shazbot.